What up, world? Established Rich coming right back at you. And today we got to talk about rapper The Game, because this conversation ain't as simple as people are making it. The Game saying hip-hop is trash is not what surprised me. The Game saying he's one of the greatest rappers on earth didn't surprise me either. What surprised me is how comfortable he is saying it, while pretending he don't need it to be true. Because when a man keeps saying who he is, it's usually because he's trying to remind himself. Let me be clear before anybody gets emotional. The Game is one of the best MCs the West Coast has ever produced. That's not hype, that's fact. The documentary, Doctor's Advocate, those records matter. His pen was real, his hunger was real, his moment was real. But moments don't last forever. Evolution is what does. And that's where this conversation gets uncomfortable. Because The Game never evolved past being a gangbang rapper. Not being from the streets, not talking street reality, but being stuck in one version of himself. Hip-hop don't die when the sound changes. Hip-hop dies when the artist won't change with it. The Game don't sound like a man commenting on hip-hop today. He sound like a man standing on the outside looking in. And the most dangerous position for any artist is feeling left, not broke, left. Because when you feel left, you start inserting yourself in places where you don't belong. You start claiming credit where history don't back it up. And that's what this is really about. Not whether or not hip-hop is trash. Let's talk about that statement for a second. When a legend calls the rap game trash, what he really saying is, it don't sound like me no more. Which is fair, but that don't make it trash. Every era ain't for you, and every sound ain't supposed to cater to everybody. The problem is, The Game don't just critique. He centers it around him, saying, I carried LA, I did this for the West, but if you carry something, you don't have to keep reminding people. The weight shows in the history books. The West Coast got giants. Pop, Snoop, Dre, Ice Cube. They legacy don't need interviews to stand up. It stands because time has confirmed it. The Game had his era, and it was important, but it wasn't forever. And that's okay. Every great artist ain't meant to stay at the top. What ain't okay is trying to rewrite your career, trying to insert yourself into every success that came after you. Which brings us to this Kendrick Lamar comment.
Time I met Kendrick was a long time ago. I don't even know if he'll remember. He was going to the Yet Center in Compton, and as part of a probationary program, I had to go be a big brother at this Yet Center, and me and my homie Tato,
getting hours signed off. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't Kendrick's big brother, but he used to come in there and he was real young, man, and he was just always charismatic, always good with the words, man, and just a funny little guy. I don't even know if he remembers that. And so when I had and we grew up like across the street and around the corner from each other. But I gangbang hard, and Dot, he non-affiliated, but he Compton, and he ain't no punk either. Right. So and everybody from the hood that don't bang still is from the hood. Right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like he got that, but I always knew. So in the beginning, I would be going in the beginning of my career. I'd be going by Top Dog's house, and just helping him with J-Rock stuff and lending my 2 cents, since I was a little bit ahead of the curve than from where they were. And I was always asking Top, I was like, yo, let me get Dot. Mm-hmm. He was like, no. And so he knew what he was, I knew what he was. J-Rock, when I took J-Rock on tour, Dot was hype man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I asked Top again at my house in Glendale. I was like, let me get Dot. He was like, nah. But he was like, yo, what if we piece up TDE? And I was like, man, I got Black Wall Street. I'm good. Yeah. I want you to do
So when you
thing.
say let me get Dot, are you talking about let me get him as an artist or as a feature?
Let me get him as an artist, because I already knew. I knew what he was gonna be.
The moment he said he wanted to sign Kendrick, I knew what time it was. Because anybody who knew that journey knew that story didn't make no sense. And people who were actually there said it didn't happen.
Hey, what?
Travis 6180. What up?
All right, look, we talking about this shit. Your artist went on the thing talking about that he tried to sign Kendrick Lamar, right?
Who are you talking about? You talking about Game?
Yeah, hold up, Terrell, you explain it, cause I
remember like this. You have to remember, and I think Terrell gonna agree with this. You wasn't around back in them days.
When they had GDE, I was around.
No,
yeah.
we talking about before J-Rock even had the feature with Wayne and all that shit.
Yeah, I was around with my brother Q. I was around.
But whatever him and Top Dog conversation was, I can call Top. I don't.
Well, we can call him too.
Y'all know Top. I do know Top at one point in time had kind of wanted to do a joint venture. I don't know if it was with Rock. I don't know if it was with, but that, you know, only Top could Top and 2T's could speak on that, because 2T's was gang security, and 2T's always been who he is at Top. But
And 2T spoke on it. He said blood is lying. He never wanted to sign Kendrick Lamar.
okay, so why you, if 2T spoke on it, why you calling me about it?
Nigga, because these niggas is arguing. Hold up, Whack.
I can only speak on what I did for Kendrick Lamar.
What you do, Whack?
Well, I'm the first nigga put him on New York radio. First nigga put him on a New York stage. You know, a lot of niggas I did that for, because I had the K-Slate plug. And Top, if you listen to it, when I called him from No Jumper, he told Adam, nigga, Whack gave me the keys to New York. So that's what that was. But other than that, I don't know what Top and Game discussed. 2T's would know, because 2T's was always the go-between to that. So if 2T said that, that's what 2T said. I ain't talked to Top about that. But what difference do it make? Because that's still a TDE movement regardless.
That ain't shade, that's fact checking. And when people close to the situation start calling cap, it's not personal. It's protection of history. You don't get to rewrite somebody else's origin story, especially when your name wasn't on the deed. Why does the game keep doing this? Why does he have to attach himself to every West Coast moment? Because evolution moved on without him, and he ain't made peace with that yet. Look at his track record. This ain't new behavior. The 50 Cent beef, the constant industry name dropping, the revisionist statements. This is a pattern of a man who still wants validation from a culture that has already history stamped him. Not erased him, stamped him. The game isn't disrespected, he's remembered. But remembrance don't feed the ego. Relevance does. And this is where I think the pain comes from. He wants to matter the same way he used to. But hip-hop don't work like that. You either adapt or become a commentator. Unless you hate that role, because when you hate that role, every opinion sounds bitter, and every interview feels like a campaign. This ain't about whether or not Game can rap. He can. This is about whether or not he can let go. And right now, he can't. Now let's get into the part people don't want to talk about, because this ain't just about comments, it's about patterns. Every time a West Coast moment happens, the game shows up like he was in the room, even when history says otherwise. And at some point, you gotta ask yourself why? Why does he need to be included in everything that comes out of Los Angeles? Because he never found a second act. That's the real truth nobody wanna say. Look at the great ones. They all evolved. Snoop evolved from Death Row to a global personality. Dr. Dre evolved from a producer to a business empire. Ice Cube evolved from rapper to filmmaker. The Game, he kept making the same record for a different year. And that don't mean the music was bad. It means the story stopped growing. You can't be 25 forever in hip hop. And you definitely can't be mad at the culture for moving on. This is why his hip hop is trash talk falls flat. It ain't trash, it just ain't talking to him. New artists don't speak with the same code. They don't rap for the same reasons. And instead of learning the language or respecting the difference, he dismissed it. That ain't leadership, that's frustration. And frustration always speaks louder than wisdom. Now let's talk about this I carried the West statement. Carrying something means it couldn't move without you. The West Coast moved before him, it moved after him, and it'll move without him talking about it. Contribution ain't ownership, and impact don't mean control. The game confuses participation with authority, and that confusion is why people push back. This is why younger generations don't click with his message. They hear someone talking at them, not to them. You can't preach from a pedestal you never built. Respect is passed down, not declared. And here's why I give him some grace. He's a product of an era that didn't teach artists how to age. Hip-hop never taught men how to transition. It only celebrated who was hot right now. So when the heat fades, some people panic. Others pivot. The Game panicked. And panic makes people talk too much. This is why he makes claims that don't line up. Not because he's evil, but because he's unsettled. And if you listen closely, you can hear that. The anger, the need to be validated out loud, the need to be seen as the center. But here's the part no one tells you. You can be great and still be done. Those two things can exist at the same time. Legacy doesn't guarantee relevance. The Game never accepted that chapter. So he keep trying to edit the book. This is why his comments feel forced. Like he trying to jam a square in a circle. You don't have to be in every conversation to be respected. Sometimes silence is power, but silence requires confidence, and confidence comes from peace. Right now, the Game ain't at peace, and that's the real story. He don't need to prove he can rap. He needs to figure out who he is without a microphone. Until then, every interview will sound like a campaign. Every take will feel like a standoff, and every new West Coast success will feel like a personal insult, even when it ain't. This ain't me disrespecting him. I'm just giving you my opinion. The Game had his moment. It mattered. But if he ever wants peace, he gotta let go of owning what came after that. But if he ever wants peace, he's gotta accept his own legacy. History already did its job, and sometimes the hardest part of greatness is knowing when to step back and let it be great. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Established Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.